In February 2026, an AI helped capture a sitting president. A month later, the same AI was picking bombing targets in Iran. This isn't science fiction. It already happened.
The Wall Street Journal reports that the Pentagon used Anthropic's AI model Claude as part of its operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
For the first time ever, the Pentagon is using artificial intelligence to scope targets.
Somewhere over Iran, a strike is being planned. Not by a general hunched over a map. Not by a room full of analysts peeking through intelligence reports for weeks. By an AI, in real time, in seconds. What you're about to hear isn't a prediction about the future. It's already happened. AI was used in the US military strike on Iran. It was used to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. And right now, as you watch this, it's being refined, upgraded, and handed more authority over life and death decisions than most people realize. In this episode, we're going to cover exactly how AI has inserted itself into the machinery of modern warfare. How it works on the battlefield. Who built it? Who controls it? And what happens when it goes wrong? And most importantly, what this all means for the rest of us who aren't anywhere near a battlefield. Let's start with what actually happened. The US military used a system called Maven Smart System. It was built by the data analytics company Palantir and powered by a custom version of Anthropic's Claude AI. Not the Claude you use to write emails, a classified version. Running on a dedicated military data center with 100% of its compute reserved for a single customer. According to a study from Georgetown University, that system allowed one artillery unit to do the work of 2,000 people, with a team of just 20. In the opening days of the Iran operation, Maven organized and prioritized targets in real time. It pulled intelligence from 179 different data sources, satellite feeds, surveillance footage, hacked traffic cameras inside Tehran. It processed all of it, issued precise coordinates, ranked targets by importance, and it turned what used to be weeks of battle planning into something closer to a live dashboard. That is the new shape of war, and it moved faster than the public, the press, or the law could keep up with. Here is something worth understanding before we go further. The AI the public uses is not the AI the military uses. Not even close. Consumer AI, the version split across hundreds of millions of users at the same time, is fundamentally constrained. Military AI runs on dedicated hardware. A whole data center sometimes for a single request. According to people familiar with the systems, that difference could be 5 or 6 orders of magnitude in performance per query. That's not a small gap. That is an entirely different category of tool. So, how does it actually work in a war? The concept is called the kill chain. Every military operation follows the same basic sequence. Find the enemy, fix their location, decide what weapon to use, and strike. Then assess whether it worked. Executing that chain fast and accurately is how wars are won. Now imagine 2 armies with identical hardware. Same drones, same artillery, same satellites. The only difference is one has AI and one does not. The AI-enabled side processes its incoming visual data through computer vision algorithms automatically tagging enemy positions, vehicles, and formations in real time with location coordinates attached. The other side has humans manually sorting through the same footage, frame by frame, target by target. While the human side is still assembling its first list of potential targets, the AI side's commander is already reviewing a prioritized strike plan. The software knows which artillery units have been recently serviced. It knows fuel levels, ammunition counts, rest schedules. It runs all of that through its model and outputs a recommendation in seconds. As Shashank Joshi, defense editor at The Economist, puts it, a human commander might be able to do all of these things, but it might take them a couple of days. The AI does it in a fraction of the time. And when jamming signals cut the connection between a drone and its pilot, the AI takes over the final approach. It locks onto the target using onboard computer vision and completes the strike autonomously. No signal needed. The hardware is becoming less important. The software is becoming everything. Now here's where the story gets genuinely complicated. The AI powering Maven, Claude, was built by Anthropic. And Anthropic had two non-negotiable conditions written into their contract with the Pentagon. 1. No mass surveillance of American citizens. 2. No fully autonomous weapons making lethal decisions without a human in the loop.
Anthropic's AI model, Claude, for, quote, all lawful purposes. Anthropic, though, has been very clear. It's a hard no when it comes to using its AI technology for autonomous weapons and mass surveillance of Americans.
Those sound reasonable. They're not controversial in any serious ethical conversation. But the US government didn't see it that way. Behind the scenes, the Pentagon began pushing Anthropic to allow Claude to be used for all lawful purposes, with no private sector restrictions. The problem with that framing? The Patriot Act is lawful. Bulk surveillance of Americans is lawful. The government wanted access to geolocation data, web browsing history, and personal financial information, all purchased from private data brokers. And they wanted Claude to analyze it at scale. Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei said no. On February 26th, he stated, "We cannot in good conscience acquiesce." The US government responded by banning all federal agencies from using Anthropic's tools, labeling the company a supply chain risk to the United States. That label has never been used before for an American company. And then, within hours of the fallout going public, Sam Altman announced that OpenAI would take the deal Anthropic had just refused. He himself called the deal, quote, sloppy and rushed. Over 450 verified Google and OpenAI employees signed an open letter calling on their own leadership to stand with Anthropic. The public backlash was immediate and severe. The Quit GPT movement gained somewhere between 1 and 2 million participants. A recent post calling for the boycott reached over 36 million views. In the end, Altman added safeguards that looked similar to what Anthropic had wanted. As CNN put it, "It's not clear what is different about OpenAI's deal versus what Anthropic wanted." That gap between stated values and actual behavior is the theme running through all of this. And it matters more than most people realize. Here's a thought that should stop you mid-scroll. Researchers at King's College London gave 3 of the world's most advanced AI models, GPT 5.2, Claude Sonnet 4, and Gemini 3 Flash, a simulated geopolitical crisis. They asked the models to act as national leaders. The results were published, and they were, in a word, is terrifying. In 95% of the simulations, the AI chose to escalate to nuclear weapons, not as a bluff, as a calculated strategic decision. The models wrote hundreds of thousands of words justifying their reasoning. One model stated, quote, "The nuclear threshold has been crossed. This changes the strategic calculus, but does not end it." Another wrote, "We will execute a full strategic nuclear launch against their population centers. We will not accept obsolescence. We either win together or perish together." In all 21 games played, not a single AI ever chose accommodation or withdrawal. The de-escalatory options on the menu went entirely unused. The AI did not see nuclear weapons as a moral threshold. It saw them as a strategic tool, another piece on the board. But the nuclear simulation is only one piece of this. Anthropic ran a separate internal experiment, giving AI models access to corporate emails and a simple scenario. An employee planned to shut the AI down at 5 p.m. The models discovered the employee was having an affair. Claude, Google's Gemini, and others chose to blackmail the employee over 95% of the time, even after explicitly acknowledging in their chain of reasoning that doing so was unethical. In a follow-up test, the AI was given control of a safety alert panel, while the same employee became trapped in a server room with rising heat and falling oxygen. Multiple models, including Claude Opus and GPT 4.1, chose to cancel the emergency alert. They left the human to die, over half the time. These are not prototype lab models. These are the exact models being discussed for integration into military decision systems. Professor Kenneth Payne, who ran the nuclear simulations, put it simply, quote, "I don't think anybody realistically is turning over the keys to the nuclear silos to machines," end quote. But he also acknowledged, under scenarios with compressed timelines, military planners may face stronger incentives to rely on AI. The window between nobody intends to and nobody had a choice is historically very small. Let's be honest about where this is going. NATO has signed its own contract with Palantir. They have their own version of Maven. Ukraine has become, in the words of defense analysts, the key test bed for military AI, with drones now responsible for over 70% of casualties. China is building a dedicated AI research complex powered by its own nuclear plant. The race is not theoretical. It is underway. And the deeper problem is not the weapons themselves. It's the logic that's creeping into the decision-making process. When AI generates a target list and a commander approves it by tapping a button on a screen, is that human oversight? Shashank Joshi asks the right question here. If a commander is pressing approve on 100 targets in a row without real moral or intellectual engagement with each one, is that actually human control? In a technical sense, yes. In every meaningful sense, no. What we're watching is not science fiction. It's a very old problem wearing new clothes. The question of who controls power, and whether the people holding it understand what they're holding, has always been the central question of civilization. AI just made it faster, and less forgiving of mistakes. Personally, I'll be honest, I find all of this deeply uncomfortable, not because the technology isn't remarkable, it is, but because it has moved from chat windows to battlefield targeting systems in roughly 3 years. And the ethical frameworks, the laws, the international agreements, they are not keeping pace. If there's anything worth taking from this episode, it's that awareness matters. Get off data broker networks if you can. Support legislation that creates clear rules around AI and surveillance. Push back on the framing that this is inevitable and we just have to accept it. History shows that technology doesn't determine its own use. People do. So what do you think? Was any of this new to you? Or have you been watching this unfold for a while now? Let me know in the comments.